Greeting, YouTube. One thing that a lot of white folks in America seem to love is to relish the concept that they live in a dystopian nightmare where crime is everywhere, where they are constantly and endlessly at risk of and at being threatened by a nebulous them. This kind of narrative is being shoved down their gullet by the right-wing media, like Fox News and things like that. All of the right-wing pundits will push that narrative that white people are constantly at risk of being attacked or robbed, their homes and and the very foundations of their society undermined and destroyed. And it encourages them to back the funding of more and more police and more prisons. But it doesn't actually do anything about going after the source and the foundations of crime. Why is there criminality higher rates in certain areas than in others? Why is crime a problem in your community as well as the community at large when it comes to America? And we can say, well, that neighborhood over there is safe, and we can point to another neighborhood and say, well, that over there isn't. Okay, and it isn't because that neighborhood's over there and that neighborhood's over there. No, no, it's because resources have been allocated so that neighborhood is safe and that neighborhood isn't. So imagine for a moment that you want to lower crime. What are you going to do? You should pump money into the community. You should make sure that every kid has safe housing, has safe and ample food, they have good health care. And when you make sure that every kid has everything they need to be absolutely secure in their lives, then you take the snack up and make sure all of the other people in their community have the same resources. And you keep pumping money into the communities at the ground level, making sure that everyone has what they need. Because the wealthy people, they never worry about being homeless or hungry. They never question that their kids are going to have a good education. Why? Because they have the resources. Now, if you're going to look at America, the demographics are going to be that wealthy, comfortable neighborhood is full of white people, and that neighborhood over there that's currently not doing well is probably full of ethnic minorities, brown people, immigrants. And those people don't get the resources. Why? Because that's how our capitalistic society has decided to set it up. They need that conflict between one group and another. And in America, that conflict is going to be fueled by the fact that white people do far better than everybody else in America. But that conflict between white people and everybody else that isn't white benefits the profiteers. And it generates that atmosphere of desperation that drives crime. Now, there will always be people who are willing to bend the law or break it to make a buck. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to eradicate con men. You're not going to eradicate people who that just want to rape because something in them is deeply broken and they did not get the help they needed in the past or the present. You're never going to help completely eradicate serial killers, for that matter. They exist in every society at every level. No, but you could lower all kinds of crime rates if you put the money into the communities and not into the pockets of the cops. As a good example, it costs about $30,000 per person that is homeless with our current criminalized structure. Because being homeless is a crime in America, essentially. So $30,000 a year is being spent to criminalize being homeless. Whereas if you just make sure that person has housing, it costs $10,000. So you could house 3 people for the amount of money that we are currently spending on criminalizing one person. Think how much better off we would be if we made sure everybody has housing, where everyone knows that every day they're never going to have to worry about where they're going to lay their head. They know it's always going to be safe and clean. They're never going to have to worry about being hungry They're never going to have to worry about their eyesight or their teeth or that little heart murmur that they've been worrying about, because they could just go to a doctor and have it sorted out. Imagine what that would be like, that everyone lives in the same level of comfort that the wealthy folks currently have. And I'm not saying everybody needs to live in a palace. I question why palaces exist, but that's another argument. But I'm saying everyone should be safe and comfortable, and we have the resources to do it. So rather than putting money into the pockets of cops and criminalizing and harming people and ruining their lives, even worse than they already have been because they're desperately poor or homeless, being driven to criminality just to survive, how about we put that money into the communities and help the people in those communities so that they are happy and safe. And happy, safe people are not going to be as criminally active as desperately terrified people are. Think about that. The system has been set up so that criminality is a tool to keep that conflict going, because it always benefits the profiteers at the top. We can do something about this. Putting the money into the communities as opposed to cops is not only the ethical and moral thing to do, but it's the fiscally smart thing to do. And isn't that what conservatism is supposed to be about in America?